Welcome to my review of Bridge of Spies, directed by Steven Spielberg, a biodrama set during the Cold War in 1957 that centers on insurance lawyer James B. Donovan, who takes on the very much condemned task of providing a fair trial to an Irishman, Rudolph Abel, who's been prosecuted for allegations of being a Soviet spy. So if you're watching this video, there's a good chance that you have seen perhaps maybe just a handful of Steven Spielberg films because he has directed some of the most iconic films of all time. Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jurassic Park, E.T., to just name a couple, Schindler's List. Whether you're somebody who's a fan of Spielberg or not, you cannot deny how eclectic he is as a filmmaker, nor can you deny how he's a filmmaker who can direct with some seriously insane competence because he is a true craftsman. And I think it goes without saying that he is among the very few legendary filmmakers living today. And even though Steven Spielberg's name might not carry the same amount of weight that it once did in the pre-2000s, he hasn't faded into obscurity, nor has he become a filmmaker in the likes of Francis Ford Coppola, who went from making The Godfather Parts 1 and 2, Apocalypse Now, to making movies that are kind of terrible. Not to say that Steven Spielberg hasn't had any sort of missteps, but then again, when you have a filmography as large as his, it's difficult not to have any sort of blemishes. But as for Spielberg's previous film Lincoln, albeit that I do love Daniel Day-Lewis's performance, the film itself I'm quite indifferent towards. Although I might feel differently about the film if I were to watch it today, but at the time I was watching it, it just kind of came off as boring and overly sentimental, even for Spielberg. And that's one thing that you can always expect from Spielberg. His films are always going to have a hint of sentimentality, to say the very least. And some people do have problems with that, which I can understand. Even something as harsh as Schindler's List has it. But the thing about Steven Spielberg and sentimentality is that for me, it usually works. When Steven Spielberg does it, it feels honest, it feels earned, and he knows how to do it in a way that doesn't make everything feel as if it's all covered in sap. And although there may be a bit of a misstep towards the end of the film, Bridge of Spies is another great film to add to Steven Spielberg's legendary filmography. First of all, the camera work and the editing is some of the absolute best I've seen all year long, and it is smooth as butter. There are some really cool tracking shots where the camera will be following somebody, and then it will pan to an object or to another person, then pan back, and it's done so incredibly well. Mind you that these takes are not exactly short, and the cinematography itself is gorgeous. Judging from the trailers, I thought the whole cold tint was going to get on my nerves, but no, it is beautiful to look at, especially in the scenes where you have light coming in through windows where it's just pure white. And one other thing that I want to bring up before I get into the meat of this review is that John Williams is not here doing the score, it is Thomas Newman, and albeit it might not be his most memorable score, it's a score that is used somewhat sparingly, yet very effectively, and there are some very beautiful pieces in the score as well. Now I want to talk about Tom Hanks. Now, Tom Hanks, you cannot deny, even if you're a huge fan of his, that he plays pretty much the same exact character, or he plays himself in every single film. But holy shit, is he incredible at doing that. I've never seen Tom Hanks give a lackluster performance, and he is fantastic in this, and in fact, this might just be one of my favorite performances of his. Going back to the synopsis, the film is about James B. Donovan, of course played by Tom Hanks, who serves as a criminal lawyer to Rudolph Abel because he has been prosecuted for allegations of being a Soviet spy. And what I think the film does quite subtly yet very well is the dynamic between these two men, James B. Donovan and Rudolph Abel. You can really tell that Rudolph Abel, played greatly by Mark Rylance, really respects Tom Hanks' character James B. Donovan and vice versa. And it's through their interactions they form sort of a friendship, and what's really cool about this movie is that there's a large portion that is devoted to the repercussions that Tom Hanks' character faces because he's basically helping the enemy. The media slanders him, people give him incredibly dirty looks, and he even has his house shot up with him and his family inside of it. And it's all for doing the diplomatic thing, serving justice, in other words, the right thing. In the movie, James B. Donovan is somebody who just simply wants to help people. He wants to give people a fair chance. He's somebody who firmly believes in justice, and in a way, he is an extension of us, the audience. Now, the screenplay is written by Matt Charman and the Coen brothers, Joel and Ethan Coen, who also wrote Unbroken, which I thought was great. But you can definitely tell in certain scenes that this film had a little bit of Coen in there because it had that Coen bite in some of the characters and some of the dialogue. One of the last few things that I want to talk about before I end this review is that there is this one piece of spectacle. I think it's like really the only piece of spectacle in the film. And it features this pilot ejecting from a plane. And it was intense. I thought that was brilliantly well done. As for any problems that I have with the film, is that it comes off as just maybe slightly a little too flag waving for my particular taste. And two, I wasn't too keen on the ending. It kind of seemed to wrap up everything in a nice little bow, and I didn't really like that. I'll just kind of leave it at that. It's not something that ruins the film for me, but it is something that definitely stands out in comparison to the overall film. Overall, Bridge of Spies might not reinvent the wheel, or it might not be the most unique film, whether that be in Steven Spielberg's catalog or in film in general. It's a film that is presented in a very captivating way. Years from now, when people talk about the great catalog of Steven Spielberg, this is one of those films that's going to get brought up. I guarantee you. It's one of the best films of the year. I really, really loved it. I'm going to give Bridge of Spies a light 4.5 out of 5. If you're somebody who has seen Bridge of Spies, let me know your thoughts on it. And let me know what your favorite Spielberg film is. Mine would be Jurassic Park. I'm wearing the t-shirt right now. There's also E.T., Minority Report, Schindler's List. He's got a lot of great films. Those are just some of them. And as always, I'm Colin Kirkland, and thank you so much for watching.